Refuel my chopper, Tech. The man's voice cut through the rooftop wind like a blade. Hurry up. His Italian loafers clicked against the helipad as he adjusted his Rolex. I pulled off the headset slowly, deliberately. The rotors were still spinning down, creating that distinctive whine that most people found deafening. I found it calming. "I'm not a tech," I said, my voice even. He didn't even look at me properly, just waved his hand dismissively, already turning toward the rooftop door. "Then get off my landing zone," he screamed over the noise. "I don't have time for this." I smiled. It was the kind of smile that usually made people nervous, but he was too busy checking his phone to notice. "It's my building," I said. He froze. Actually froze mid-step. Then he turned around, really looking at me for the first time. I was in jeans and a work shirt, my hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Grease stain on my shoulder from checking the hydraulic system. He saw exactly what he expected to see. A maintenance worker. Nobody important. "Excuse me?" His voice dripped with condescension. "I said it's my building, and I'm revoking your landing clearance. Take off. Now." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Marcus Blackwell, CEO of Quantum Dynamics. I've been landing here for 6 months. I know exactly who you are, Mr. Blackwell." I pulled out my phone, pulled up a document. And according to the lease agreement, rooftop landing rights can be revoked with cause. Section 7.3, paragraph C. You just verbally abused the landlord. That's cause. His face went red. The landlord? This building belongs to Harrison Properties. Some old guy who's barely in the office. Harrison Properties is owned by Reynolds Holdings, which is owned by me, Alexandra Reynolds. I let that sink in for a moment. I'm that old guy's daughter, and I just inherited everything 3 weeks ago. Something flickered across his face. Not quite fear yet. More like irritation. "Look, lady, I don't care whose daughter you are. I have a meeting in 40 minutes across town, and I need to refuel. So either get me someone who can actually help, or what?" I crossed my arms. "You'll do what, exactly?" "I'll call your father. We have an understanding. My father died 3 weeks ago. Heart attack. You didn't even send flowers." I watched his expression shift. "And that understanding you had? It died with him. The new lease terms go into effect next week. Triple the rate for landing rights, mandatory insurance increase, and a courtesy clause, which you just violated." He pulled out his phone, started dialing. "We'll see about this. My lawyer is Richard Chen from Whitmore and Associates. I know. We went to law school together." I glanced at my watch. He's probably in court right now. Won't be available for at least 2 hours. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Fine. I'll pay whatever ridiculous rate you're asking. Just let me refuel and go." "It's not about the money, Mr. Blackwell." "Then what is it about?" I walked closer to him. Close enough that he had to look me in the eye. 3 months ago, you fired Sarah Mitchell. Remember her?" His face went blank. "Who?" "Exactly. You don't even remember. She was your head of R&D. She'd been with your company for 8 years, built your entire patent portfolio. You fired her because your nephew just got his MBA and needed a prestigious title. That's business, nothing personal. She was my college roommate. Called me crying. Said you gave her 20 minutes to clean out her desk. Security escort and everything. Very classy." He shrugged. "If she had a problem, she should have sued. Now, are we done here? I really need to—" "She did sue, and she won. Settlement was finalized yesterday. Didn't your lawyer tell you?" "What?" "No, that's impossible. We had an airtight NDA and non-compete. You did, until you fired her without cause. That voided both agreements. Sarah's now free to talk about every single patent violation your company has been sitting on, and she's been very chatty with your competitors." His face drained of color. "She wouldn't. She already has. Reached out to TechCore Industries 2 days ago. They're very interested, especially in the quantum processing algorithm you've been claiming as proprietary. Turns out Sarah developed it on her own time, 2 years before joining your company. She has the timestamps to prove it. Marcus grabbed his phone again. This time his hands were shaking slightly. This is extortion. No, this is consequences. And speaking of which, your fuel situation. I gestured to his helicopter. You burned through about 45 minutes of flight time getting here. You need at least another 30 to get to your meeting. That's a $65,000 aircraft with a 75-minute range when full. So you're running on fumes. The gauge shows about 15 minutes left. Maybe. And the nearest refueling station is 22 minutes away, assuming you can even land there without an appointment. Which, by the way, you can't. I checked. His face went from pale to gray. You're bluffing. Am I? Call your pilot. Ask him. He did. I watched the blood drain from his face as his pilot confirmed everything I'd just said. The phone call lasted maybe 40 seconds. When he hung up, his hand was trembling. Look, he said, and his voice had lost all its arrogance. I apologize. Okay? I didn't know who you were. I didn't mean to be rude. Can we please just resolve this? I'll pay any fee you want. Double. Triple. You still don't get it. I shook my head. This isn't about fees. You've spent 6 months landing on my roof, tracking oil and hydraulic fluid all over the maintenance equipment. Never once asked permission. Never once said thank you to the people who kept this area safe for your landings. You know why my father tolerated it? Because he was old school. Believed in handshake deals and giving people chances. And you don't? I believe in respect, Mr. Blackwell. Something you clearly have none of. I glanced at my watch again. It's now 2:43. Your meeting is at 3:30. Even if I let you refuel right now, which I won't, you'd barely make it. But here's the thing. That meeting? It's with Gregory Tam, isn't it? His eyes widened. How did you... Greg's my godfather. He's been advising my father's estate. I had dinner with him last night. We talked about a lot of things, including your proposed merger. You didn't. I didn't have to. Greg's a smart man. He does his due diligence. When Sarah's lawsuit hit the court system yesterday, his team flagged it immediately. He's been trying to call you all morning. Marcus checked his phone. 12 missed calls, all from the same number. His hand started shaking harder. The merger's dead, isn't it? He whispered. The merger's dead, I confirmed. Greg doesn't do business with people who steal IP and fire whistleblowers. Bad optics. Worse ethics. This is insane. You can't just... I can. And I did. Your choices now are simple. You can sit in that helicopter and wait for emergency services to tow it off my roof. That'll take about 4 hours and cost you around $15,000 in fees. Or you can pay for a fuel truck to come here. That'll take 2 hours and cost about $8,000, plus my landing fee, which is now $50,000. Non-negotiable. $50,000? That's robbery. That's the asshole tax. Take it or leave it. He stared at me. I could see his mind racing, trying to find an angle. Some way to turn this around. But there wasn't one. He'd burned every bridge. I'll have my lawyer. Your lawyer will tell you that everything I'm doing is completely legal. This is private property. I can revoke access for any reason, including you being a jerk to the landlord. The rooftop door burst open. A young man in an expensive suit came running out, phone pressed to his ear. Mr. Blackwell, I've been trying to call you. Mr. Tam's office just canceled the meeting. They're pulling out of the merger. They said something about IP violations and... He stopped when he saw me. Who's this? This, Marcus said, his voice hollow, is Alexandra Reynolds. She owns the building. The young man's face went pale. Oh, God. Sir, we need to go. Now. The board is calling an emergency meeting. They're talking about removing you as CEO. How? Marcus's voice cracked. How did this happen so fast? I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. You spent years building your reputation on stolen work and intimidation. It was only a matter of time before someone pushed back. Sarah was just the catalyst. The lawsuit exposed everything. And Greg? Greg talks to everyone. By tomorrow morning, every major investor in Silicon Valley will know what you did. This isn't over, Marcus said, but there was no conviction in his voice. Yes, it is. I pulled out a business card, handed it to him. Here's the number for the fuel truck. They can be here in 90 minutes. You'll miss your meeting, but at least you'll get off my roof. He took the card. His hand was shaking so badly he almost dropped it. And Mr. Blackwell, I said as he turned to leave, next time you see someone in work clothes doing a job, maybe treat them with a little respect. You never know who they might be. He didn't respond, just walked to his helicopter with his assistant trailing behind, both of them making frantic phone calls. I watched them climb in, watched the pilot shake his head as he showed Marcus something on the fuel gauge. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Did he land on your roof? He did. And he's about to have a very long afternoon. I smiled. How's the new job at TechCore? Amazing. They're giving me my own lab and full creative control. And Alex? Thank you. For everything. Thank you for trusting me with the lawsuit details. Made for excellent leverage. I still can't believe he didn't recognize you. You were literally in Forbes last month. He doesn't read. He just looks at the pictures. I watched the helicopter sitting dead on the helipad, going nowhere. People like Marcus never look past the surface. They see what they expect to see. A woman in work clothes? Must be maintenance. Never occurs to them that the person checking their hydraulics might own the building. Poetic justice. Something like that. The fuel light on the helicopter was flashing red now. Pilot was clearly arguing with Marcus, probably explaining that they were genuinely stuck. I should go. I have actual maintenance to supervise. You really were checking the hydraulics? Of course. I'm not going to let some entitled CEO's negligence compromise my building's safety systems. That's how people get hurt. I hung up and headed for the rooftop door. Behind me, I could hear Marcus shouting at someone on the phone. Probably his lawyer. Definitely panicking. The maintenance team was waiting inside, grinning. They'd been listening on the security feed. Boss, Carlos said, that was beautiful. That was necessary, I corrected. Nobody disrespects my people. Your father would have been proud. My father would have let him refuel and sent him on his way. I smiled. But my father isn't here anymore, and I do things differently. By the time I reached my office, my phone was blowing up. News traveled fast in this city. Greg called first. Alex, please tell me you didn't strand Marcus Blackwell on your rooftop. I didn't strand him. His poor planning and empty fuel tank stranded him. I just declined to enable his bad behavior. Greg laughed. You're your father's daughter, except meaner. Strategic. The word you're looking for is strategic. The board at Quantum is in chaos. They're threatening to remove him. Good. Maybe they'll hire someone who actually respects their employees. You know this is going to make you enemies. Greg, I inherited a commercial real estate empire worth $300 million. I already have enemies. At least now they'll be enemies who mind their manners. He laughed again. Fair enough. Dinner next week? I want to hear the full story. Only if you're buying. After he hung up, I pulled up the building's security feed. Marcus was still on the roof, pacing like a caged animal. His assistant was on the phone. The pilot was checking systems, probably doing the math on emergency landing options. They had 15 minutes of fuel left. Maybe. The fuel truck would take 90 minutes to arrive. Simple mathematics. Uncomfortable mathematics. But mathematics, nonetheless. My assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Reynolds, there's a call for you. Marcus Blackwell's lawyer. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He says it's urgent. I'm sure it is. I turned back to my computer. Tell him I'll call back in 2 hours. After my meeting. You don't have a meeting. He doesn't know that. She smiled and closed the door. I watched the security feed a little longer. Watched Marcus finally sit down on the helipad, head in his hands. His assistant had stopped pacing. The pilot was probably explaining that they were going to need a tow after all. $300 million. That's what my father had built from nothing. Years of handshake deals and second chances. Years of being the nice guy. And where had it gotten him? A heart attack at 62. Working himself into an early grave trying to keep everyone happy. I wasn't going to make that mistake. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call. Another unknown number. Word was spreading faster than I'd expected. Good. Let them talk. Let them whisper about the Ice Queen who stranded a CEO on a rooftop. Let them think twice before treating service workers like garbage. Let them wonder who might be watching when they abuse their power. The security feed showed a fuel truck finally pulling into the loading zone below. 90 minutes exactly. The driver was calling up to the roof, probably getting coordinates. Marcus's helicopter was completely dead now. Not even the instruments were running. They'd burned through every drop trying to keep the radio and lights on. The tow truck would cost $15,000. The fuel truck was $8,000. My landing fee was $50,000. Plus storage fees for every hour that helicopter sat on my roof. Marcus Blackwell's bad afternoon was going to cost him close to $80,000. But that wasn't the real cost. The real cost was the merger. The board confidence, the investor relationships. Sarah's lawsuit had been the crack in the dam. Today was the flood. My father always said that reputation was the only thing you couldn't buy back once you lost it. Marcus Blackwell was about to learn that lesson the hard way. I closed the security feed and got back to work. There were 12 other buildings to manage, tenants to call, maintenance schedules to review. The business didn't stop just because one arrogant CEO was having the worst day of his life. But every time my phone buzzed with another news alert, another industry gossip text, another shocked message from a colleague, I smiled. Because respect isn't something you demand, it's something you earn. And Marcus Blackwell had just learned he'd never earned any at all.